Welcome, friends. You are listening to the Mind Body Alchemy podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie Miramontes. This is where intuition meets education in the realms of spirituality, fitness, mindset, and more, all to create lasting change. Welcome to the podcast, and thanks so much for being here. We are going to talk about being impatient with the process, wanting results faster, trying to convince yourself to keep going when you are not seeing what you have expected to see as far as physical transformation goes on your journey. So many of you want to come to me and say, I'm just impatient. Teach me how to be patient. Convince me that this is going to work for me. Just want to really break this topic down because it's so important that you not only manage your expectations, but also really think about the words that you are saying to yourself and out loud that is making you feel impatient. What if I told you that you had to do this for 5 years before you reach your goal? You wouldn't see a single drop of results for 5 years. And then the next day you would wake up and bam, it would be there. It would be easy for you. You wouldn't really have to think about it much ever again. Would you do it? What if I said 10 years? Would you do that? You want to be so impatient and focus on the timeline, but I coach women in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s that are still dieting. They are still worrying about their bullshit because everything that they've done has given them unsustainable results, or it just took too long, so they quit. And yet they still have the same bullshit thoughts and the same frustrations. All of that is still happening. They're still looking for answers. So what are you in a rush for? Of course, I know this answer. You are in a rush to feel better. You are in a rush to feel differently. And here is what I'm impatient actually means. It means I'm not sure this is going to work, and I like certainty, so I need to see results now so I don't have to cultivate that belief on my own. Or I'm afraid this won't work, and I'll have wasted my time for nothing. I could have had a quick fix that would have been over by now. Sure, I'd gain the weight back, but at least I would be out of the shame cave for long enough to lie to myself that I'll never go back again. But here's the thing. You've had faster results before, and you didn't maintain them. You had really good thoughts about your results before until you didn't, until you stopped making progress. The scale stopped moving, or an old friend invited you for margaritas and it all went downhill from there because you didn't have the thoughts that you needed or the plan that you needed to kind of make your next best step. It's all willpower and grit until you have a new situation that you don't have any thoughts prepared for. Your commitment to a plan worked until you got exhausted or distracted and no one taught you to pivot. Instead, you went right back to the old habits, the ones you never have to think about, the ones that you do each day without even noticing that you do them. When you take a slow and systematic approach to weight loss, by taking committed actions and getting really, really good at them, then you start to feel more discomfort when the brain offers the old behaviors as a suggestion. Think about that. Right now, you are used to doing things a certain way. And so when the brain offers new suggestions like, hey, we're going to try this new thing, we're going to change our behaviors, for a while it might be okay, but then it starts feeling like work. It starts feeling difficult. And so you start doing the things that you already know how to do without having to expend much energy to do them. But what would happen? How would you feel if you had worked so hard on being the new way that the old habits came up for you as a thought, as an option? Your brain offers you options all the time. What if it offered you that option of, let's say your thing right now is nighttime snacking and you work really hard to be someone who didn't snack at night anymore. And then one day your brain's just like, hey, what about a nighttime snack? That would feel so uncomfortable because it's not something you do anymore. And you worked really hard to change that part of you. You worked really hard to stop doing that habit so that you could have the results you want. So thinking about doing it would be so uncomfortable once it is no longer your automatic pattern. You are wanting to feel differently so bad that you are wishing your life away by being impatient. You are skipping time. You are waiting for the end result to allow you to just exist in some joy. Stop waiting. If you really want to feel good long after you reach your goal, then you have to start practicing feeling good now. Take some of the pressure off of the outcome to provide you the happiness because it won't. If you want to be out of mental and emotional pain about your body and your weight, then work on the thoughts about your body and your weight that are painful. Stop being impatient about the process and use that energy on changing your mind, changing the way that you are thinking about yourself and talking to yourself. Stop telling yourself that it isn't fast enough and start telling yourself why you're worth the effort. Quit making mental lists about how hard it is and how shitty it is, and start making lists about how excited you are to be working on it instead of doing it in a shithole way again. Now, your impatient ass brain is going to show back up. Count on it. You're listening to this episode, you're all pumped up, you're nodding your head, yes, and committing to the long game. It's encouraging, it's exciting, and you are all in. And in about 3 hours, you're going to forget all about that, and your mind is going to offer up some great reasons why you should be going faster and why you probably shouldn't get your hopes up anyway. Don't make it wrong or bad to have that show up. Instead, start to notice it, start to pay attention, and then start listing the reasons why that doesn't apply here anymore. Let it show up and practice doing nothing with it. Practice not reacting to it. Practice not feeling bad about yourself just because you aren't where you want to be yet. So much of our struggle with the process of losing weight or reaching any goal is that we haven't learned to give ourselves options. When a shit thought shows up, we believe it, and we let it cause us pain. And once we feel the pain, we add more and more and more negative thoughts until it's so uncomfortable that you just think it's too hard. So you sabotage, you eat, and you make the process take longer. You made the process take longer because you created drama and pain by thinking about it in a way that is painful and dramatic. So what happens then? What happens when it takes longer? That is when you say, see, this shit didn't work. Nothing works. I just can't do it. Wasn't meant for me. And that is when you quit until it all comes rolling back and you start over again on something else and the same impatient bullshit comes again. And another thing that I really want to drive home here is that this is not just who you are. Stop describing yourself as an impatient person like it's a characteristic that you just have, like your eye color. You are not an impatient person. You know what is happening here? You have experienced impatience as a feeling in response to the way that you think things should go. What if you stopped thinking that all the marketing and fads were right and that weight loss should be easy, quick, and give you instant gratification? Hell, we can see how that's been turning out for folks. 95% failure rate. Hello. What if you just started believing that this thing that so many people are trying to do and leave so many people feeling broken and like failures and are never actually getting it done is supposed to be more like getting a PhD. Years of work. It's not that the concepts are hard, but you make it hard by believing it needs to be faster than it is, and then you complicate things. You find things to blame instead of just thinking that it's going to take a little longer, that you've been thinking the same way for a really long time. And that doesn't change overnight. It takes practice. It takes effort. And what if the process didn't have to be so damn miserable? What if you just accepted that it's going to be a minute? So you're just going to be really kind to yourself. You're going to treat yourself really, really well all the way through. What if you decided to make it fun instead of making it so much work? What if you just started to expect that you are going to be invested in yourself because you matter enough to do that? What if you just decided that you have time and that for once, that didn't mean you were going to dick around until it feels uncomfortable? I can't tell you how many people look at the 6-month program that I coach, think it's so long, and they start dicking around after the initial excitement wears off, and then panic when the 6 months is coming to a close. Then they freak out, try to start doing all the things all at once, get really frustrated that nothing works, and then they check out in the last couple of weeks. They think that they have been patient because they stuck around for 6 months, but they weren't. They were excited, then passive, and then they made a lot of excuses as to why they didn't do the work, and then came back and convinced themselves they've been at it for 6 months, and then they get impatient. Just because you come back around after having fuck it moment after fuck it moment doesn't mean you've done 6 months of work. It means that your old stuff went unmanaged a lot. And that isn't wrong or bad. It just means that you're going to have to keep going. There's no difference in how you lose the weight as to how you keep it off. Both need to be intentional. So just keep doing the work. Don't let impatience stop you. Time is going to pass regardless. And what do you think is going to happen at the end anyway? What's going to happen when you lose the weight or reach the goal? The process doesn't end. You continue to treat yourself awesome. You continue to watch those thoughts. You continue to correct yourself when you start hearing the bullshit. So if you want to kick this habit, you have to do 3 things. Start telling yourself that you are going to show up for yourself in this way for life, no matter what, because you are worth it. That is number 1. Number 2, you are going to go hard on the little behaviors until they become so natural that not doing them feels like the shitty thing. When you screw it up, you don't quit and you don't go to fuck it town. You just ask yourself some great questions about how you want to change, and then you keep on going. That's the second one. And the third one is that you are going to start eavesdropping on your dumpster fire bullshit thoughts and redirecting them. Tirelessly. Work your ever-loving ass off on proving them wrong. Because if you keep getting frustrated, sabotaging, and then making this process really fucking hard, all you're doing is proving your bullshit right. And that ends today. It won't always feel good, and that isn't a problem either. The goal in life is not to feel good all the time. That's where the contrast is. That's how we feel joy, because we know what it feels like not to. But the goal is to not react to the discomfort in a way that causes you more, so that you get past it much more quickly. Okay? That is all I have for you today. I know that was kind of some heavy stuff, but I am here for you guys. I want to see you win. Thanks so much for listening. If you love this, please be sure to support the show by leaving a rating and review. It is the cool thing to do. It helps me so much more than you know. Screenshot the episode and share it on your social media. Tag me. All my information is in the show notes. And if you have questions or thoughts on this episode or ideas for a future episode, drop them in my inbox. It's always open for you. All right. Bye.